everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Switch Mania Playcast. This one's a little bit different due to everyone. We're so busy working on Stage 3 and pushing up Stage 2, and we have so much to share and show you soon. But until then, we're going to do an episode with a little bit of segments. So this is actually for, and I'm sure Jeff has already done it, episode 98. And of course, this is Barry. But I'm not alone today. We have a very special guest from the Premium Edition Games team. We have Frank the Tank.
Hey, what's up, guys? Happy to be back. I can't believe 98. Wow. 98. That's wild. Congratulations. Almost on that big 100.
Yeah, it's insane that we're getting to that point, and we've already told JP he actually has to make that episode. But, it's been a few weeks. The last one was early September 6th. And we were doing Super Nintendo September is what we're doing. So we're working with the Nintendo Switch Super Nintendo app. And we've been playing some games, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. So hopefully you guys have been playing some Super Nintendo games as well. And Frank, since you're the guest here, why don't you first and talk about what games you've been playing Super Nintendo-wise, and maybe a little show you've been working with.
I've been probably played 3 of the best games on the Super Nintendo over the past few months. We did Earthbound, and then we did Chrono Trigger, and just last night we started Super Mario RPG. We do a little weekly show called the Super RPG Friends, where we get together with a rotating cast to celebrate pretty much some of the best games of all time. And man, I haven't really had the time to go back and do like full playthroughs of some of these games like in ages, and it's amazing how much those games still hold up even among some of like the newer titans and stuff like that. And honestly, something that I'm dreading on the show, man, a nice 20-hour bite-sized RPG is such a nice length. Like, I'm on hour 50 of Tales of Arise, and like, get it over with. And then I'm probably going to end up playing something else with like 100 hours, but the Super Nintendo RPGs, like, they're the most perfectly bite-sized RPGs, because even in PS1, they started to get a little bit longer and stuff like that. And I think doing the show and playing some of these games has really given me a lot more appreciation for their ability to tell this big story with all of these interesting characters and beautiful graphics and lore, and then still fit it into this very digestible size.
Yeah, I hear that. There's definitely, I think as we all get older, we have less and less time. Mm-hmm. And Tales of Arise is a beast of a game, and a fantastic game. And
yeah, I'm definitely loving it. I feel like the last quarter of the game gets a little draggy, but like I'm still having a great time with it. The combat is, in my opinion, the best the series has to offer. Like, Tales of Arise definitely is in my top 3 of the Tales games for sure. Like, it's very good.
It's up there for me too. Yeah, the theme song's still stuck in my head even after finishing it.
Okay, you finished it. Okay, so then you know what I'm talking about.
I know
when
exactly.
The game starts to be like, hey, do these backtracks for no reason, or hey, we need to repeat the same thing to you 3 times to make sure you understand. I'm just like, please, just let me play the game.
I didn't have a lot of that. I had, there's backtracks for Quest if you want to do the Quest for sure. And I did that. I like that it showed you the little envelopes like on the fast travel scene.
Yeah, that makes doing the questies. I guess I more mean when they turn off fast travel.
Oh, yeah.
They want you to retread like a whole dungeon or area again, just so you could get a cutscene right before the closest fast travel, and I'm just like, this is unnecessary. Like,
but fast travel.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, it's a very small complaint about a very good experience when it comes to that.
It's interesting too with Super Nintendo. I never even thought about the length of those RPGs, and I think you said like 20 hours, and probably now going through, I'd probably do it in 20 hours. But a lot of those RPGs took me longer as a kid.
Oh yeah,
just because first off, we didn't have the knowledge of where to go.
Mm-hmm.
And second off, without the internet or anything like that. So a lot of it was just trial and error exploration. And that was fun. I mean, if you spent all afternoon, after school, and you made progress one little area, like you found one hidden thing or you discovered where to go, like that was a huge accomplishment. Like even if you spent 3 to 4 hours on it, you felt like you just climbed Mount Everest. And I love that feeling. Like, That is so cool, and those are some great games. I hope you hit Final Fantasy 4 and 6 next.
Oh, definitely. That's I'll do a little. We're doing Genesis next, so don't tell anyone except for all the people listening. But we're doing Genesis next.
You can't get off Super Nintendo without doing at least 6. I mean, come on.
We can't stay there. We primarily want to do a couple games, move to a different generation, but obviously we're going to circle back around. Picking 3 Super Nintendo RPGs was something that probably took us like a good month of discussion. We were actually originally going to try to do a weird one for the third game, but we decided that since the show is still a little bit early, we should probably do one that has we were going to do the original Shin Megami Tensei, which I've never played, and my co-host Nick is an expert at. And we'll do that eventually, but like it was once it became time to, we were like, well then, okay, so what are we going to do for the third one instead? The list was huge, and Final Fantasy VI is one of my favorite games as well, so it was hard to kind of be like, you know what, let's save this one for when the audience is bigger. I think that was one of the thought processes behind doing that. You know, we did 2 absolute bangers with Earthbound and Chrono Trigger, and of course Super Mario RPG.
Mario RPG is a banger.
Oh, it's one of my favorites, but like, I guess in terms of like the social media zeitgeist, because there's so many other Mario RPGs and stuff like that it's a little bit, I would say it's like a rung lower than those 2 in terms of like notoriety among the general public.
I don't know. I think that's a really interesting idea. And I'd really be curious to know if that's true. I mean, obviously Mario is a far bigger franchise, but I also wonder, growing up, we all knew Mario RPG. It was a big thing. It was the last Square soft game for Nintendo for a long time. But I wonder how many kids now even know about Mario RPG, and, they probably saw the costume in Smash for Gino and go, whoa, what?
That guy, yeah.
So
I think like Paper Mario has a little bit more of like a footprint on like the internet, as if you bring in all the groups that are interested in something. Like, I think when people say like a Mario RPG game, their minds go to either Paper Mario or Mario and Luigi as a series, just because those both have so many more entries than that beautiful one-off of Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars. Like, such a beautiful little, like, it's one of those things. It's such a cool thing that it even happened, like.
And it also, makes you think what could have been had Square never left Nintendo.
God,
I mean, remember Paper Mario was originally Super Mario RPG too.
Exactly.
So also, Paper Mario just had an entry last year, so it's definitely fresher in people's minds, and so I agree with that. All great games. I recommend anyone playing those games or play those games if you haven't, for sure. Great RPGs.
100%.
I did a little different with mine. I didn't go the RPG route because I'm doing, I did the Tales of Arise, and I already have big games. I wanted to get into a bite-sized game, even though it was a game that I played, I loved, still one of my favorite Super Nintendo games of all time, and it took me a lot longer as a kid, and still grueling hard. I don't even know how I beat it without the rewind and the save state feature, because I absolutely abused it this time, and that is Demon's Crest.
Oh, Demon's Crest is one of those games that I never played Demon's Crest until I worked in a game store, and a $200 copy of the game came in, and my coworker was like, Frank, you love Capcom. You love exploration-based action platforming. I know it sounds weird that I'm telling you to spend $200 on a whim, but do it. Buy this game and play it. And I fucking did, and oh my God, what a game. It is Capcom at their absolute finest of that era. It is such a solid game, and I can't believe that it's more a game that's like spoken of in like whispers on the internet. Like, it is so good. Oh my God.
Yeah, Demon's Crest is one of those games that I got it when it came out, so I still have my original copy. And the reason I got it is because when I originally got my Game Boy, and I played Ghouls and Ghosts and stuff, but I was never really a huge fan of that. It was always too difficult, and it's still very difficult. But when I originally got my Game Boy, as a kid, I actually traded some baseball cards for it with another kid, because that was our currency back then.
Of course.
And I got the Game Boy, and I got 4 games specifically. I got Tetris, of course. I got Mario Land. I got Go-Go Tank, which is another game no one ever talks about. And I got Gargoyle's Quest. And when you're a kid and those are the only games you have, you play the hell out of them. And
yeah,
Tetris,
like nonstop.
You only play so much before it's like, all right, I've seen Tetris, I need to move on. Mario Land was you're gonna sit down, you can beat it quickly. Go-Go Tank was a puzzler. I found it a little challenging, but Gargoyle's Quest beat the crap out of me, and I was like, oh my god, this game is brutal and hard, but it's all I have, so I'm going to figure it out. And I did, and I loved it. And when I found out there was a sequel on the NES, I got that, and and I played that, and I loved it, and I loved the improvements. So then when Demon's Crest came out, a lot of people don't even realize it's technically like Gargoyle's Quest 3. It is. And it's like, oh my god, there's a Super Nintendo version now, and I bought that, and I loved it. And it took me forever to find everything, and it really is a Metroidvania, and it's a cryptic Metroidvania.
It's very, even like the little things, like just go to a random spot on the map and press a button, and then suddenly there's like a level. I was very surprised as I was playing it, just how in depth it was willing to go with where it was hiding things and what kinds of rewards it was giving you.
Yeah, and it's short. I mean, there's really only 7 levels. But each level has multiple different areas you can go to after you get these different powers.
Yeah.
And if you rush through, you're going to go levels 1, 2, 3, and 4 because there's an overworld map with the mode 7. And then you're going to go, the next area, there's no 5 over it, but that must be the next area. You go there, the final boss is there, you beat him, and you get the bad ending of the game. And you're like, wait, what?
Hold on.
That was the game? And no, what you have to do is you have to go back and explore and find all the crests and find all the things. And it opens up the 5th and the 6th level. And then when you go to that final boss, it's no longer just a final boss fight. It's actually a 7th level with more hidden things. And it's Mega Man X style Capcom with hidden heart containers. And and certain things like they use this, I believe, in Mega Man 7, where there's like a tree and it's, you can't do anything. It's just a tree. But after you beat another level and you get firepower, you come back. The fire would actually already ravage that area.
And now all the flame sword on Slash Man's level.
And boom, there's an item where the tree was. And it's like, this is so cool. I love this. And it's such an underappreciated, under-talked about game. And I was ecstatic to see it in the launch lineup for the Super Nintendo Online. And like you said, the cart is expensive. It is a very expensive physical cart to get. As a collector, I'm happy I have my copy. And since it's my personal copy, it is more valuable to me. But if you don't want to spend $200+ in a cart, I don't blame you, especially when it's there. And it is tough. That final boss kicked my butt so many times because it's one of those final bosses with a very tiny hitbox. It's a huge boss with a tiny hitbox that it constantly protects itself with, and it's very annoying. It's from that era where
we're talking like X3 Sigma levels of small. Yeah, like I said, Capcom at their finest, right?
It did that there too. It is like that. It's annoying, but with the save state, I was able to eventually beat it. There are other cool things. There's different potions you can get, and there's different scrolls and magic you can use, and there's a lot of fun activities. The only negative I will say about it is the final crest in the game is only obtainable if you start the game using a special password, and I think dumb. that is really dumb.
Do you get the password when you get the bad ending? Is that how it works?
I don't even know how people found the password, but that item is permanently grayed out on your field because technically you get it at the end of the game. You get the crest. I think it's the crest of heaven, and that's it. You have all the crests. You win the game. But if you use a password, you get it, and that unlocks the ultimate power. Like it's almost easy mode in a sense because you can do everything. You could swim, you can fly, you can climb, you can break, you can do whatever.
Oh my god, this boss is fucking ridiculous with the blood rain. What the hell? Oh my god, I had to look up the last boss and this is like nearing bullet hell. Like, wow.
And you can only hit it in the face, and he's constantly blocking his face. And it's like, oh my god. And you're constantly over lava, so you have to get in these platforms that are constantly being destroyed. And it is a really tough final boss for sure. And that's Capcom at its finest. But it's absolutely something I recommend. And if you haven't done it, you like Metroidvanias, give this a shot. Easily accessible with the SNES Online. Because it was a couple of weeks ago. I did do a second game that I'll talk about briefly, which was Mario's Picross. And that game never came out in America at that time. I mean, it came out in Game Boy, but the Super Nintendo version didn't. And I wasn't a real fan of Picross until the Pokemon Picross, which was free. And I was like, oh, I'll give it a try. And I found out I loved Picross. So I went to do this. And it was interesting to see what could have come out in the Super Nintendo back then. And it's weird seeing Mario and Luigi and all that, like Wario to talk to me in Japanese. And the game is in Japanese, but it's easy enough to play Picross without. And it's fun. There are some things I'm not a totally fan of. One thing is in the newer Picross games, when you figure out all the spots on a row, it will gray out the row and it'll let you know, like, oh, you don't have to worry about that. Mm-hmm. And in this one, it doesn't. So I'm constantly like, oh, is there still something I have to like double check? And and when you're dealing with like time and all that, like I feel like that just detracts from the puzzle. It's nice to know like this row is done. I don't need to worry about this row anymore. And also, if you push the wrong button and you make a mistake, you are heavily penalized. And that happened to me several times where I'm like, oh, I want to mark this as a bad thing. I want to mark it as an X. And, oh, I just tried to break it. And now it's penalizing me. Like, no, I hit the wrong button. And that's just the controller, like just getting used to. I'm still getting used to the controls. But fun. If you enjoy Picross, this is absolutely a great way to play it. We included in your online pass, so you don't really have to spend much. However, it is not the best Picross game, but that's understandable because it was in the 90s and they've since made them better. But there's cute little animations in some of the puzzles and stuff. I like it. Mm-hmm. And that's what we did, or at least what I did for Super Nintendo September. So I don't know where else I'm going with the next game, but there's just so many great games. And talking about RPGs, the Breath of Fire 1 and 2 are on there, which I'd love to do, but those are time sinks in themselves.
Yeah. Honestly, Breath of Fire 1 aged not the greatest, and then the GBA version of Breath of Fire 2 is so much better than the Super Nintendo one. So it's one of those ones that it's like, I'm a huge Breath of Fire guy, but like even those ones sometimes I'm just like, there's other places where I'd play them. Like, it's been a long time since I've done a Breath of Fire 1 tried to do that full game again, but I remember the last time it was one of those where it's just like yeah, this is definitely an early RPG. Like, 2 is
since like early 2000s, like 2001, and I had a blast. I still love Breath of Fire games.
Yeah, Breath of Fire 2 especially holds up really well, I think.
Oh yeah, great games. But let's move on briefly here. We talked about our games we were playing. But there was a little something that happened yesterday as of this recording, and I don't know what Jeff and or JP in their recorded segments, if what they're recording, what they're talking about. So if this is any repeat, please don't hate me because I have no idea. But there was a Nintendo Direct as of yesterday, and some big stuff was talked about. Some big stuff was shown off. Frank, I assume you've watched it or at least.
Yeah. Me and some friends watched it live.
Oh yeah. All right. So overall, before we get into like some of the nitty gritty, just what would you rate it as a out of 10? Like, what would you say? Don't say your best or worst. Just give us a number. What would you say?
Yeah, like I don't know. Maybe like I try not to be biased because there's a couple of things in there that I have very strong reactions to. But overall, probably like a 7 or 8 out of 10 or something like that. Like there's been better ones, but it was definitely a solid Direct for me, I think.
I agree. I give it a 7. And I think, there are some Directs that I come out of and I'm like, oh my God, that was great. And I give it like an instant 10. And then as I dissect it later on, I'm like, you know what, maybe this was more of an 8 or 9. Mm-hmm. But it was just the hype levels were so high. This one I feel is almost the opposite in the sense of like when I finished watching it, I kind of left it like this was a 7. It was a solid. This is some good stuff. And then as I rewatched it, as I digested it, like that actually started to improve. Like, oh, this was there. I forgot this was shown off. Or oh, this was. So it started to move like to a 7.5 to an 8. And I like that. I like seeing it go in the opposite direction.
Yeah, it's nice when you don't, rather than get your expectations in check, you kind of exceeded what you thought it. You're like, you know what, that was better. Like,
exactly.
That's always nice.
So go on. I was going to say I'm going to run through the announcements quickly. I'm going to run through a couple of them, and then we'll talk a little bit about those particular announcements.
Awesome.
That way we can get our little opinions in there. So we started with Monster Hunter Rise getting a new content, getting Sunbreak, the expansion coming next year. Mario Party Superstars was shown off again. That's coming October 29th. Voice of Cards, The Isle of Dragon Roars from Square Enix and Yoko Taro.
Break my heart, Yoko Taro.
Coming out October 28th. There's a demo available already. Disco Elysium, the final cut, getting a Switch port. The digital version's October 12th. The physical is next year, early. Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity gets the second half of their DLC. That's coming October 29th. Chocobo Racing gets a new entry with Chocobo GP. That's coming 2022, and that is exclusive to the Switch. And a little tease for the final Smash Brothers character that will be revealed October 5th, which will be the final one. The Sakurai Direct is coming, or Sakurai Presents, but we don't know the character yet. Let's stop there. Frank, what are your thoughts on those things?
Oh my God, did you... Kirby in the Forgotten Land, man.
Not there yet. I'm going in the order that things are revealed.
Oh, okay. I was like, did you really just skip over what had me most excited?
No, I'm going in order. I'm just want to take it in bite-sized chunks.
I flipped out about Sunbreak because I'm all about spooky dragons, and it looks like the flagship monster is just a big spooky dragon. And now it makes sense that there was. I feel like I really loved Rise. It's probably one of the games that I have the most hours in on my Switch, but still compared to the other ones, I feel like it kind of was a little content light and I was expecting more. But if they're doing a like Iceborne sized expansion for it, I'm all for it. And Sunbreak looks like they're pulling their sleeves up for Sunbreak, and I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, Sunbreak. See, I didn't play Rise. I played the demo. It didn't get me. I can't get into Monster Hunter games. However, Monster Hunter Stories 2, absolutely love.
So good. Good.
So like Sunbreak was one of those things where I saw, I was like, all right, it's Monster Hunter Rise. Like, I'm so happy for all the people that are diehard Monster Hunter fans and Monster Hunter Rise fans, and I hope it's meets and exceeds everyone's expectations. For me, it's not going to do anything. I mean, if they release it physically, I'll buy it. But it's not something I plan on playing.
Well, at least speaking of Stories 2, I bet you we'll get some nice Stories 2 like crossover content.
Probably. They've
been really good about releasing content for Stories 2, from what I understand, post-game and stuff. So that's really good to see.
Absolutely. Mario Party, I'm already sold on it. I can't wait for the new Mario Party.
I think Superstars was honestly, I think it was one of the best Mario parties in years. I feel like we kind of had a little bit of a dark period of Mario Party games with like the Wii and the Wii U ones. I thought they were okay, but they weren't like, they didn't have me feeling crazy and super happy about it. But like the Switch one, I was super into it. We were having weekly friends over, having some drinks and playing Mario Party and stuff. It was so nice. So like, I'm the same way. The second I saw that, I'm like, sold, let's do it. Like,
absolutely. Voice of Cards, I think, was really something that came out of nowhere. At first, I was like, oh my God, Bait and Kados is coming back. Like, that's what I thought. I'm like, oh, yes. But Yoko Taro doing a card RPG for Square, that just seems really interesting. It could be, go either way. The art looks very much like Bravely, the Bravely artist. Definitely going to try and check out that demo. And I don't know if it's getting a physical. I know Japan's getting a physical, so hopefully we can get an Asian English physical. Otherwise, that's going to make me really sad. Chocobo Racing, that has me more excited than I thought.
So pumped! I love that game, the PS1 one. So
the PS1 was fun, but this one has Final Fantasy IX characters. Vivi's there, Steiner's there. Vivi's card is based on Sid. Alexandria's there. Like, wait, what? They're doing some Final Fantasy IX love in this, and I wonder how many other games will get representation. Obviously, Gilgamesh, who's 5, and so many others. But that has the potential to be really, really big if done well. 64-player online tournaments,
which is nuts.
It could be.
It's awesome.
So those are the ones I'm really excited about. And of course, one trend that this Direct has is it's a Direct that announces other Directs.
I'm so weird about that. I'm like,
And the Smash Brothers is one of those things. I'll say this: I don't know what character is coming out, but I'll tell you this: the internet is going to be collectively happy and upset on the same day, because no matter what character it is, there's going to be people that are going to be super excited. There's also going to be people who are super bummed, and they can't use the excuse of, oh, we still have X amount of fighters left. So this is their final chance to get your dream character in there. All the people like, oh, give me Shrek and Goku will be totally disappointed.
Master
and all the
Chief,
people,
baby.
It could happen. Who knows? But we'll find out.
Anime sword fighter. We all know it.
I hope so.
Another Fire Emblem character.
I love anime sword fighters. I'm sorry.
Me too. Same.
Give me a Tales of Rep, even though that won't happen because Bandai Namco just had a character representation with Tekken. But yeah, I'll take that. I don't care, as long as the character is fun to play.
Yeah, that's what I'm worried about. Exactly. I'm like, if I don't care if I know them or love them, as long as they're fun to play, count me in. I'm all about it.
Exactly. So there we wound up going to the next thing, which you yelled at me for not talking about, which is Kirby and the Forgotten Land, a brand new 3D Kirby game. We got another direct announcement with Animal Crossing New Horizons having a direct coming in October, and they teased the finally the cafe inside the museum, the Roost, with Brewster. There's also the update now for Mario Golf Super Rush, which came out yesterday with Koopa Troopa and Ninja as playable characters, as well as 2 new courses. Would never expect this coming from the 3DS. Disney's Magical World 2 Enchanted Edition. It's coming out. Another 3DS port that I don't think anyone asked for. However, this is, I believe, is the very last time that the original Scrooge McDuck, voiced the character before he died. So, that iconic DuckTales Scrooge, his last appearance, I believe, is this game. So bittersweet there.
It's good that it's getting a definitive version kind of deal, especially considering that.
Yeah, exactly. Knights of the Old Republic, Star Wars is getting a port to the Switch from Aspyr. They're just doing a remake on PS5, but Switch, we're getting the original, which is fine. Dying Light 2 is getting a cloud version, along with Dying Light Platinum Edition, which is not going to be a cloud version. That's coming out October 19th. Project Triangle Strategy has been renamed, to no surprise ever to anyone, as Triangle Strategy. Is coming out March 4th, 2022. And then once again, they showed another trailer for Metroid Dread. I don't think that was needed, but that game, of course, is launching in just 2 weeks as of the time of this recording on October 8th. What about this segment? Frank, now you can talk about your Kirby.
Oh my god, I literally flipped shit. Like, I feel like I'm one of the people, like, I played so much of the last Kirby, the last Switch one, like, with friends. I was always bringing friends over and playing. Like, I love Kirby. Like, and seeing a 3D, like a Mario 64 version of Kirby, I'm so excited. And plus, obviously, when you're as into Kirby as I am, of some of the strange, deep lore. So seeing something that is like post-apocalyptic just gets my fucking gears going. Like, I am so excited for just it in concept. I think the combat is looking like a lot of fun. The movement's looking great. The environments are interesting. And I can't wait for the inevitable, horrifying monster final boss that I can unlock. And new powers too, of course. I'm always excited for more powers. Like, I love seeing the Kirby team coming up with fun and inventive ways to translate an idea into a power for Kirby, or to elaborate on some of his previous powers. There's such a library of one-off powers that were a lot of fun in the Kirby games throughout the years. So every time there's a new one, I'm always like, come on, give me some of that crazy stuff. Like,
I've always been a fan of UFO, so as long as I get UFO, I'll be happy.
UFO in a fully explorable 3D environment, absolutely, yes, please, Barry. Like, that sounds just high. And the thing, because if we're doing like collectathon and stuff with Kirby being able to fly, we are going to have so many fun areas to be able to explore and look for things, and just that was one. It was not on my list of things that were coming on this direct, and just to see that pink little puffball again it just brought my heart joy. Like,
That's actually something. Did they even show in the trailer him flying? I don't think they did. Just jumping.
They're like, we're still working on that.
So I don't know. They did show the copy powers, which are nice. I don't know if they're going to be streamlined though. They might because it's 3D for the first time. They might say like, oh, we're only going to do like 8 copy powers, and
that's true. Yeah,
because they showed sword. It was sword, cutter, fire or fireball, needle, and ice were the ones.
Needle
that were
was looking good. That was the best I've ever seen Needle look. The fact that you could Katamari with it. Like, I was like, yo, that's cool.
And unlock hidden areas because it showed him like breaking a wall in the trailer.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, and I especially like one of my favorite Kirby's is just Dreamland 2, which is like one of the kings of just secret areas and power specific paths and stuff like that. It lent itself to so much replayability as well as so many opportunities to reward a player's knowledge. Because all of the different blocks had like a different visual tell and stuff like that. So like you as the player were rewarded for being like, I know what that is and I know what I need to get, rather than just seeing a wall and being like, I need to get past that and I need to figure out how. You already know how. So like I love when Kirby does good like hidden stuff and extra stuff that I can do that rewards me for doing it.
Now here's a question. Especially talking about Dreamland 2, which is one of my favorite Kirby games. Do you think in this brand new, first time ever fully 3D explorable Kirby world, we're going to get the animal buddies?
I don't, but I wish. Maybe in the sequel, because I love animal buddies, but like I think I'm still thinking back to what you said about like the copy powers and like how many they would be. I do think that with this new idea and stuff, I think they might try to be a little bit conservative, which for Kirby is still a little excessive. But I think Animal Friends, maybe like they might do like a little area or two, kind of like how like Mario Odyssey had the stuff on the big Plessy dude and stuff like that. They might have a couple things like that, but I don't think that the animal buddies will be incorporated into the general open world-ish stuff.
You know, I agree with you, and I don't want to.
Exactly. Like I said, I was like, I would want nothing more than to fly around with the owl throwing boomerangs with Cutter.
Coo. Not the owl. It's Coo.
You're right. They do all have wonderful names.
Yeah, Kirby is definitely. I'm super hyped for that as well. As for the other stuff, I'm not a Mario Golf fan, but that's an awesome update for everyone who does Mario Golf. KOTOR was one of my favorite Star Wars games, like so many other people, and I think this is great for those that never had a chance to play it. If the remake wasn't announced, I'd probably go back and replay this version. With the remake, I'm kind of want to hold off and see what the remake does. But if you don't have one of those other systems or you've never played it before, playing KOTOR on the go I think is great. Dying Light's never my game, and it's always interesting to see new cloud versions. Triangle Strategy, I played the demo, didn't like the demo. I'm not a big strategy role-playing fan, but I know a ton of people are. I know it looks great. And I'm very happy for all of, everyone who wants to play that game. It does look awesome. And Metroid Dread, I'm already sold. I mean, we don't really.
I was sold a long time ago.
Instantly, I was sold when Metroid Dread was still back in the early 2000s.
Yeah, right. Exactly. When we saw that old screenshot, I was sold then.
Project Dread. All right, so moving on, we did a little Nintendo Switch Online. We talked about the Switch Online just earlier with the Super Nintendo app. Well, now it's getting an expansion pack. We don't know the price. They're going to tell us that next month, and it launches next month in October. But we are getting Nintendo 64 games, and we are getting Sega Genesis games, as well as a Genesis 3-button controller for us, a 6-button controller for Japan, and an N64 wireless controllers to be used for the Switch. Keep in mind these controllers can be used in other games as well. Let's briefly just talk about the online before moving on. What are your thoughts on the expansion pack?
It's cool, I guess. I'm not a 64 guy. I'm sure they can fit all the actual good games on 64 on that. If they put Mystical Ninja starring Goemon on it, I will buy it just so I can play that game. Huh?
Goemon's Great Adventure.
I do. I love Goemon's Great Adventure, but Mystical Ninja is definitely a little bit more my jam. They have the best Sega Genesis game on there, which is Gunstar Heroes. So I'm ecstatic to see Genesis coming out, and I was not expecting that. The 64, I think we were all had an idea that was coming, but the Genesis, I was like, oh shit, look, it's a portable version of Sonic Mega Collection.
Actually, when he said one more thing, I was expecting Game Boy. Like, oh, we're getting both.
That's what took the words out of my mouth that I was going to say. I was really gunning for like some Game Boy Color stuff. I would love to see those on a really nice display, and with all the stuff that comes with the Switch Online, I think it would have been really cool. And then they could have done Pokemon Red and Blue with online, but maybe that's in the future, though, you know?
In the future. So quickly, the launch lineup games, for those listening that maybe you haven't seen it, for the 64, we've got Mario 64, Ocarina of Time, Mario Kart 64, Star Fox 64, Dr. Mario 64, Mario Tennis, Winback, Yoshi's Story, and then the Japanese version of Sin and Punishment, because we never got that here.
I am pretty pumped about that, though. The Sin and Punishment, I've played the Wii one, and I really liked it, and I've never played that. So actually, I probably will end up, and my girlfriend really likes the 64, so I probably will end up getting the expansion pack, but the Sin and Punishment is definitely the one that interests me the most out of the 64 lineup.
Well, see, for me, Sin and Punishment I played on the Wii as well, because it was the first time we got to play it, and I enjoyed it, but I never beat it because I always felt it was very awkward with the Wii Pro controller. Like, it was just awkward because it was designed for the 64 controller. So to be able to play it with the 64 controller now has me very excited. And I did grow up with, I was high school with the 64, so I absolutely loved the 64, all these games. Even Winback. I got Winback. Winback was my jam. I loved Winback. It was such a good game. Speaking of 64, though, we do have some upcoming games that were teased. The biggest one that was a shocker was Banjo-Kazooie, since that is a rare game owned now by Microsoft. Pokemon Snap, Majora's Mask, Kirby 64, Mario Golf, Paper Mario, and F-Zero X are all teased and confirmed to be coming up. The Genesis lineup, I think the Genesis lineup is like rock star solid.
It's fucking stacked. It's stacked.
Insane. Sonic 2, which you could already play on the system, and is coming also in that big collection, the Origins collection that's coming out. Streets of Rage 2, Echo the Dolphin, Castlevania Bloodlines, Contra Hardcore, Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, Golden Axe, Gunstar Heroes, Musha, Phantasy Star 4, Ristar, Shining Force, Shinobi 3, Return of the Ninja Master, and finally Strider. What a lineup.
Wait, especially like Gunstar Heroes, Musha, and Phantasy Star 4, like sold. Like everything else, and Castlevania too. I love Bloodlines. Eric Lacard is an awesome character to play as. That was definitely, between those two, the Sega lineup was the one that made me and the rest of my buddies be like, whoa, that is like you said, it's stacked. That is a heavy hitting lineup of games right there.
The only thing I would love to see them do, Mega Man Wily Wars.
I would too. Agreed. That would be great.
But it's interesting.
I've actually never played that, so I would love to.
It was only released here on the Sega channel and then the Sega Genesis Mini officially. So it'd be nice to see that here.
Oh, shit, I have a Sega Genesis Mini. I didn't know it was on that.
It's the only official release that's a physical in a sense is the Sega Genesis Mini. So you can play.
Maybe I'll play that today then.
That's a surprise. What's interesting about this is when the Nintendo was slowly adding, and they're still adding, NES and SNES games. A lot of people like ho-hum with some of the titles. Some of the titles they put out, like Fire and Ice, people are like, ho-hum, I don't care. They may not realize that's an expensive NES cart. Musha is one of the most expensive Genesis games to own.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
To see that here, and it gives, you were talking about Demon's Crest earlier, how you don't want to spend $200 in the cart, you could at least enjoy the game. You don't want to spend the extreme amount of money. Musha's probably close to $1,000, if not more, CIB. To play it here is awesome, because now you get to enjoy that game, which is, I'll never shy away from letting more people have access to these games. But yeah, that's the lineup. I'm hoping the price is $5 to $10. I think anything more than $20 for the expansion pack might turn people away. Agreed. I hope there's some other things like increased internet stability and online stability with games. That would absolutely make it worth paying the extra upgrade as well. I just don't want to see the NES and the SNES fall behind. Like, oh, we're only going to do one game every 3 months. Like, you could do more than one game every 3 months. More on the plate, obviously, is hard for Nintendo to do, but I guess we'll see what they do. But moving on, we did some Nintendo Switch Online. We got some compilations. We got the Shadowrun Trilogy showing off, which is coming soon. We got the Castlevania Advance Collection, which is the 3 GBA games plus Dracula X, and that's released today. That's on all systems, but that is there. When we got ActRaiser Renaissance, an HD remaster or remake for the Switch of the Super Nintendo Classic, where you can toggle between the new and the old remake, the old original. At least the music, which is fantastic. That launched today. No physical as of this time that I'm aware of. Deltarune Chapter 2, which we knew was released for free elsewhere, is coming to the Switch and is free as well, which is fantastic. Let's just talk about that because next we get to the final announcements.
Oh yeah. I just totally blanked for a second there. I definitely, some of that stuff had me feeling pretty pumped. I'm a huge fan of Castlevania, and being able to strong arm more people into playing Circle of the Moon is always a plus to me. I'll be like, look, you can actually see it now.
We all know Aria of Sorrow is the best one on that.
Oh, it is, but I feel like Circle of the Moon kind of sits squarely in between feeling a little bit more like an original Castlevania while still doing the whole Metroidvania thing. I love how you have to commit to your movements a little bit more in Circle of the Moon. I love the card system, and I think that Circle of the Moon has some of the best like post-game, like alternate game modes in the whole series as well. It's definitely one of the. I feel like that's a very underappreciated one in this. I think Harmony of Dissonance with its being able to dash left or right is huge. I love the combat in that game because it's so much faster with that freedom to do that. Didn't we see? Isn't PlayAsia doing a English physical for that too?
Are they? That I did not see.
I think it got leaked. The collection got leaked a couple days before by a PlayAsia listing, so I think that's how that's going to happen.
PlayAsia also lists things that don't always come out, so
well, that could be too. Okay, I didn't know that. Okay.
Now, what do you feel? I mean, obviously, when I heard about the Advanced Collection, my original thoughts were the 3 GBA games for sure. But to throw in the Super Nintendo, another Super Nintendo talk here, Dracula X, which of course many people feel is the inferior to Rondo of Blood, the original. What do you feel about that as a bonus inclusion?
It's cool, but I mean, hopefully it just makes people go play fucking Rondo, because I'm in that camp too. Like, I own Dracula X and yada, 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 but like, it's one of those ones. I'm like, cool, thanks for the bonus. That's basically, I'm like, that's a nice add-on, you know. No one was buying it for that, but they didn't have to put it in there either. So it's nice if someone gets tired of doing the Metroidvania stuff and they want to do a little bit more classic Castlevania action at the same time. It's nice that they included that in there. I just feel like Nintendo's really trying to fucking push Dracula X on us. They're like, what do you mean Rondo of Blood? That doesn't exist. Here, play Dracula X. Here, we'll give it to you for free.
Well, first off, I don't think this has anything to do with Nintendo, since this is on all systems. This collection.
That's what, more making a joke.
You know what it is? There's the Castlevania Symphony of Night and Rondo of Blood collection that's on PS4. And from what I understand, Sony owns the rights to the English translation for Rondo of Blood. So that's why that.
Oh, it's one of those situations
on PlayStation. It's not on any other system. So I think because of that, Konami would have to retranslate it and repay. And Konami, come on, they don't want to spend money. So I think this is their way of saying, well, because we can't bring this to other systems, well, we have the rights to Dracula X because that was translated here. We'll at least include that so everybody can play at least something. And they'll throw it in as a bonus.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, as a bonus, I'm like, awesome, you know?
Yeah, I'm with you. I definitely think it's a nice bonus. But for me, Aria of Sorrow is fantastic, and
I
I really
love Aria. Yeah.
I hope they figure out a way to do the DS games then, because that's a great trilogy, and they could probably throw Mirror of Fate in as a bonus from the 3DS and do another collection.
Mhm.
Shadowrun I never played. ActRaiser, loved it on the SNES. Really interested to see how this plays on this new version. And while I
Not on
enjoy
my bingo sheet. That was not on my bingo
not
sheet.
at
When
all.
I heard that music, I was like, "What? Are you fucking kidding me?" Like,
Super Nintendo. Like, a lot of Super Nintendo love this September.
always down with it.
And then Toby Fox, Undertale was okay. I think it was hyped up too much for me. I haven't tried Delta Room, but I'm glad that Chapter 2 is available for free and people get to enjoy it.
I actually prefer Deltarune myself.
So then you get to enjoy Chapter 2.
Oh yeah.
So going into the final stretch, we've had Shigeru Miyamoto show up talking about the Mario movie, which is coming holiday 2022, with a specific date for North America as December 21st, 2022. He revealed the cast of the movie. He revealed Chris Pratt will be Mario. He revealed Anya Taylor-Joy as Peach. Charlie Day will be Luigi. Jack Black as Bowser. Keegan-Michael Kay will be Toad. And Seth Rogen will be Donkey Kong, with Charles Martinet being the voice of Mario, of course. We'll have a bunch of surprise voices, and we don't know who he will be, but we're interested to see. And then they also kind of did a little bit of a tease after with a few other people. I'm just trying to bring that up, which had Cranky Kong, which is nice to see. I'm happy to see Cranky Kong show up in the movie. Kamek. So Cranky Kong is going to be Fred Armisen. Kamek is Kevin Michael Richardson. And for me, the biggest surprise, Foreman Spike from Wrecking Crew will be Sebastian Maniscalco. Did not expect to see Wrecking Crew even referenced in this movie. I think that's fantastic. What are your thoughts on this casting? Because I know a lot of people online are talking it like a meme movie, and
I love it. I think it's great. When we started Super Mario RPG last night, I named Mario Star-Lord. So it's actually the one casting that I'm the most weird about. But honestly, I think it's going to be a great time. I didn't know that was from Wrecking Crew. I thought it looked like someone from what the hell is Balloon Fight? And I was like, is there Balloon Fight going to be in this game?
No,
so now I know.
In Wrecking Crew, Foreman Spike was Mario's boss, because Mario's in Wrecking Crew.
Mm-hmm.
Because do you remember Mario had other jobs? He was carpenter at first with Donkey Kong, and that's where Wrecking Crew kind of comes in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, construction worker in that sense. So it's really interesting that they're pulling from Mario's
the greater Mario lore. Yeah, that it's cool. It's one of those things that you're like, I feel like this is indicative of a lot of attention to detail from the filmmakers and stuff like that. If they're including something as obscure as that, it makes me feel a little bit better about how much these people know about Mario and the like I said, the greater Mario lore. Especially, I think Jack Black as Bowser. I think he's going to have such a good time with that. That's great. I can't wait to hear Donkey Kong go.
Will Donkey Kong be smoking a joint in the movie?
Well, canonically, Donkey Kong smoked weed now, so at least we all know that. I think it looks like it's gonna be a movie that's a good fun time. Like, if we want to break down and be like, yeah, maybe there was better people for specific roles or something like that, but it's gonna be a fun kids movie. And there's going to be a lot of stuff for us people who grew up with these characters. I think there's going to be a lot of nods, a lot of references, and it's going to be great to see these characters that we all hold so dear live on the big screen.
I think I've seen a lot of people be like, "Oh, this movie's terrible. Oh, this casting's terrible," and I'm on the camp of I reserve my judgment until I see it in action, because I remember back, in the late '80s when a big movie based on a very big character named Batman was announced, and the casting was announced, and everyone was like, "Oh my God, Mr. Mom is Batman! No, that's going to be terrible." And then it came out, and it was like, "Wow, Michael Keaton nailed it! Like, oh my God, that was awesome!" And I think a lot of it is you have to see it in action, and you're welcome to make your quick judgment. You're welcome to say, you know what, I'm not going to see it because Charles Martinet is not going to be voicing Mario, and you know what? If that's it, then don't go see the Mario movie. That's it. Yeah. Just don't go see it. That's fine. Wait, but at least I feel it's best to see it in action. Wait for a trailer, and then decide, oh yeah, now I'm definitely going to go see the Mario movie. Or you know what? Maybe if my friend buys me a ticket, we'll go at a good time. Or I'll just wait until the Blu-ray or whatever. Mm-hmm. But that's my take. I'm holding reserved judgment. I think this could be fantastic, or this could be a dumpster fire. So it can go either way, but I'm certainly intrigued. Finally, they ended with two last things. Splatoon 3 got a showing with a brand new trailer, and the single-player version of the game will be called Return of the Mammalians, as well as obviously the online stuff. And then the final tease was a real good fake out because I was shouting Astral Chain 2, and
me too.
And then which time happened, and Bayonetta 3 shows up finally with the very, very tongue-in-cheek, on-the-nose reference about being late to the party, but I've got like the goods with the wink, and it was like, oh yeah, they know what they're doing.
I love the braids. She has so much drip, and like I like the Bayonetta 2. Bayonetta, but I don't know. This one was when I was like, "Oh my God, this is amazing." That was. I was out of my group. I was the one who stood up and started yelling about that. I love character action games. I love Bayonetta, and to know that it's finally got a date, it's finally on its way, and it's far along enough to show us some gameplay and stuff. It got me so hype. I actually got kind of faked out, and it's my own fault. The beginning of the Splatoon 3 trailer for 3 seconds almost looks like an F-Zero track, and I started freaking out.
Music for me was instantly, this is Splatoon.
I don't play Splatoon, so for me, I was just I saw the rail, and I was like, and then I was like, oh, it's Splatoon. And I'm happy that a lot of people love Splatoon and stuff, and I actually am a little bit, I intend to at some point play the single player stuff from 2, but Splatoon for me is just one of those things, and I'm glad it's there for people who like it, but I don't really have too much going for it. But I think the visuals, so we were joking, we were Splatoon directed by Yoko Taro. I really like the direction that they're going with just the advertising and what I can assume that the story and tone and stuff is going to be something similar for the single player stuff, but I'm all for more attempts to get me invested in the franchise because I think it's very cool. I think the visual style of it's great and stuff like that, but just the focus of the game is just something that I don't really have an interest in doing on the Switch. So I'm excited to see an even more focused single player thing come out of Splatoon 3 so that maybe I can get a little bit more into it because I have Splatoon 2 somewhere, I think, somewhere.
See, I'm in the same camp. I played through Splatoon 1. I enjoyed the single player, and I played some online. I enjoyed it, but I never really gripped me. And then Splatoon 2 came out, and I got it, and I just never played it. And the single player looks cool. The expansion pass looked cool, but I just never got into it. I never even opened it up to play. And now this, I'm happy for all the Splatoon fans. There's a lot of them out there. Maybe I'll play it down the road. There's other things that are gripping my attention more for that. I do know in the Japanese Direct, the Breath of the Wild and Splatoon 2 were both announced as definitive editions, including the expansion passes for both games. I don't know if those are codes or if it's going to be on the cart. If they do release it, which I think is smart at this point to re-release these games, Splatoon 2 with the DLC on the cart and Breath of the Wild, same thing. And all their things, Smash, I would love to see a Smash all on cart.
We have to be getting a Splash Super Ultimate at some point. That will just print even more money, and I'll buy it. I'll buy it again just to make sure I can always have all the DLC characters. there's definitely, I definitely think that kind of stuff is coming. I actually didn't know that about the definitive editions of Splatoon 2 and Breath of the Wild, so I think that's very cool. I really hope it's not a code in a box with the expansion passes. I really hope
they did it for Pokemon Sword and Shield with the expansion pack. It's all on the card. So there's a
really
chance.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Sword and Shield have all on card versions, which was the definitive version.
Fingers crossed on that then. That's good news, though. I'm happy to see them doing kind of stuff like that, especially the more that Nintendo actually is like, okay, we'll do DLC. You twisted our arm. I definitely want to be able to. Nintendo, please let me buy your game for full price twice. I don't think this is asking too much.
They could do it with so many of the games. Mario Tennis with all the DLC, Mario Golf now, Hyrule Warriors, Definitive Edition has everything but Age of Calamity. They could do it. They could do it with so many of their re-release titles. I hope they do like a Nintendo Selects. Like, here's the definitive versions of Nintendo Selects. That'd be really cool. But Bayonetta 3, a game I'm super hyped for. I love the first two games. I love her new look. I was not a fan of the look in 2. I preferred the one's look. But I really like this. I've seen some fan theories that this might be Cereza grown up as opposed to the standard Bayonetta. Maybe not based on the looks. I guess we'll see. I want to know, is are Astral Chain and Bayonetta in the same universe now? Like, do they coexist? Because Astral Chain was like all on one island, and this, I don't know. I'm really interested to see. But that was the direct in a nutshell. It was 40 minutes. It said it was
kaiju. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, the kaiju fights.
Like, I saw that and I was like, really? Like, yeah, this feels like a natural thing for the series that eventually it's like, why don't we let the players do fun stuff with the giant hair beasts? Like, I saw that. I'm like, you know what? I didn't think of that. Like, let me control those on its own. But yeah, sign me up, because I enjoyed in Devil May Cry 5 V's gameplay, which is something that I assume is going to... Yeah, it was so fun to stand back and control your things to do all this cool stuff and then finish it off yourself. And like, I'm sure we're going to get something similar to that. So for me, that was definitely, I was like, this is a highlight. I'm looking forward to the kaiju combat section of this.
It's funny you mentioned V's combat, because the end of the Bayonetta 3 trailer had a tease, and a lot of people are calling that person that was there Virgil.
Yeah, that we all were like, it's Virgil.
So I don't know if that is actually going to be Virgil. I think that would be some really weird crossover stuff. They're
all in the same universe. Astral Chain, Devil May Cry, Bayonetta, Vanquish. Fuck it, right?
Don't forget about Mad World.
Yeah, the Platinum Extended Universe. If they would give me one level where I can play as Bayonetta in a Mad World-esque visual style, sold. Like,
well, they kind of did. Mad World sequel Anarchy Reign did have Bayonetta as a playable character.
Oh yeah.
So you kind of got your wish already. But yeah, so that was the Nintendo Direct. So hopefully all of you enjoyed it as well, and we'd love to hear your thoughts. Give us let us know in the Premium Edition Games Discord. Let us know your thoughts. Anchor, let us know with a voice clip. But definitely, we want to hear from you and how well you liked or did not like the Direct. So I think that brings us to the end of our segment. Frank, why don't you let everybody know where they can find you on the internet if they want to know more about you and Super RPG Friends?
Absolutely. Me, myself, my tag pretty much everywhere is Woodman FLG. Yes, like I said, big on Mega Man. The show that I do once a week is called Super RPG Friends. That's our if you want all of our links, it's linktr.ee/Super RPG Friends. That'll bring you to a list of all of our links, Discord, YouTube, all that kind of stuff. Every Thursday at 8 p.m. EST, we get together to continue whatever game that we're currently doing on the show. So if you guys like RPGs or you like fun analytical takes and theorizing and things like that on older games, be sure to check us out. I'd love to have you guys there. Let me know that you guys are from the PEG family or the people watching this. I'd love to hear it. But yeah, that's pretty much where you can find me and the fun stuff I'm doing. Oh, and I write on Monster Vine. So
don't forget about your social media accounts of the premium edition games.
Of course.
And you can find me, of course, on Twitter at Hawk Hellfire. You could find me on Facebook and on YouTube at Nintendo Fuse. You can find me in the Premium Edition Games Discord for all your needs. And if you have any questions or concerns, you can find me in the Premium Edition support email, where I will do my best to assist and aid you. Thank you, everybody, for listening thus far. And until next time, have a good one.
Heck yeah. Bye-bye, everyone.